Dead Rising is a series that, to be honest, I don't think we're ever going to see a new installment in, which is a shame as it's probably one of my favourite zombie game series. It's a great combination of silly and serious that works quite well, or at least it did. Today though, we're not going to bemoan the state of the franchise, instead we're going to look back with a smile as we go through every Dead Rising game and DLC and look at their rarest trophies and achievements. Before that though, very quick bit of admin, we're going to mainly look at the PlayStation trophy percentage for the games first, but then the games that aren't on PlayStation we'll look at Xbox numbers, because I'm really not going to just not include major releases. Please don't moan at me about console war rubbish, I really don't care what box you play on. Also, some games have multiple achievements with the same rarity, so when that happens, I will refer to trophy tracking websites such as PSN profiles so that we have one definitive rarest. For games that have multiple lists, like say a PS3 and a PS4 version, for the same game, I'm gonna pick the one that has the most people play it according to those same websites. Not a flawless system, but it works well enough. With that said though, let's start this off with Dead Rising, 7-Day Survivor 1.4%, and Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, The Grateful 8, 6.7%. I'm just going to talk about both the original and the remaster here because the lists are basically the same. We'll start with the original and 7-Day Survivor, which is maybe one of the most infamous achievements ever, like for any game. This just needs you to survive for 7 in-game days in Infinity Mode. First up, you only unlock this game by beating the game, but that's completely reasonable to be honest. Now 7 in-game days in this mode equates to 14 actual real-life hours. This mode also doesn't let you save, so I hope your game doesn't crash on hour 10. A lot of the infamy I feel like comes from the early Xbox 360 days, especially when you consider the Red Ring of Death. Not as bad nowadays, but still always going to be in the back of your mind. In this mode, Frank's health is constantly dropping. From max to 0, it takes about 20 minutes, so you can't just boot up the game and leave it running for 14 hours. You need to be constantly checking in to make sure to eat food at the right time so you don't die, but also don't run out of food because food doesn't respawn in this mode. I'm not going to get into all the specifics here, because truthfully there's enough on this one mode and achievement that it could probably be a video all on its own, but commonly parroted advice includes making sure you get the healing books, defeating psychopaths for food because they drop that now, and lock yourself in a safe room or a safe area after hoarding all said food in an area such as behind a door you can close. As I said, this takes 14 hours of gameplay, and if you mistime your food eating, need the toilet at the wrong time, or just straight up forget, you have to start again. Cool. Thanks Capcom. This achievement is infamous, but not the rarest for the remaster, for multiple reasons. Now, rarity of pretty much everything is a lot higher in the Deluxe Remaster. This could be because people going for them are more familiar with what they need to do, or the fact that there were changes to make things easier pretty much across the board, which I'm not going to go into right now. I'm sure there's loads of videos that do that already. The rarest of the Deluxe Remaster is the Grateful 8, which was in the original under a different name because I guess Frank can't be a pimp anymore, tragic. For this one you need to simultaneously have 8 women following you. Now the thing that makes this finicky is the 8 survivor limit. Basically, there can only be 8 survivors active in them all at any one time, and this will prevent more missions from spawning until you get rid of them. But you can't go drop them off at base because then you'll lose the female survivors following you. Oh no, what do you do? Basically, the short version is you need to kill all the male survivors so that missions containing female survivors can spawn. There's actually a lot more routing and planning than I've made it sound, but if you need a guide similar to 7-Day Survivor, there are many online. Of course, you also need to keep all these ladies alive, which is obvious, but in case you're unaware, there's a bunch of zombies around that are doing their best to ensure that doesn't happen. Both of these achievements are things you need to dedicate whole playthroughs or playthrough length Infinity Time mode to. You aren't just going to stumble into these. They require planning and commitment, and that's really going to appeal to some people and drive others away. Dead Rising 2 Case 0. Small town, deep pockets, 9.04%. Case 0 is the standalone prequel exclusive to the Xbox 360 for some reason. You would have thought that when they re-released the main game this would have come with it, but not so. It's pretty nice and short, but the rarest achievement is for spending $100,000 at the pawn shop. Important to note that this does count across playthroughs if you're on the same save file, so you don't need to worry about the time limit. The best way to get this money from basically every source I can find online is to head to the casino and smash all the machines, grab all the cash, and then return to the safe room to respawn the machines and rinse and repeat. This is the most common of the rarest trophies / achievements on this list, and yeah, makes sense. I'm sure that will say the same for all the Dead Rising 2 games. Dead Rising 2. Chuck Green Crossdresser, 0.9%. Or not. There's actually a bunch of achievements at roughly this rarity, and there's a non-zero chance that the order might actually be different now than when it was when I was writing this video. What this trophy is for though is for wearing every single piece of clothing in the game. This is, as you might imagine, a very tedious task, and much like the first game, something that you are absolutely planning for specifically. Much like Case Zero though, this does count across playthroughs. Almost all of these are easy enough to find, doubly so if you're following a guide or a checklist. Not all of them though, that would be far too convenient. There is one piece of clothing that is completely locked off unless you do the side quest Tape It or Die. Why this is a pain is first, it's an unannounced mission, meaning there's no radio about it. Second, it's only available for 6 hours on day 3. And finally, it involves 4 survivors, and as the 8 survivor rule is in effect, if there's not 4 open slots so to speak, then the mission won't spawn in time and you can miss it quite easily. I'm not going to go into the whole specifics of the mission itself, but basically the final outfit is in a locked room that only becomes unlocked for this mission. And the second you leave after completing it, the door becomes locked again for the rest of the playthrough, so seriously remember to try on the outfit unless you want to replay a good portion of the game. Mind you, there's so much you need to focus on for the achievements that multiple playthroughs is honestly quite likely to be needed. Makes sense why this is the rarest just purely based on how missable that one side quest and outfit is. It is weird that it's the only outfit locked behind anything in the entire game though. You would think there'd be a lot more like this, but what do I know, I'm not a developer. Dead Rising 2 Case West, Petty Vandal, 3.18%. Case West is another standalone DLC like Case Zero, except this one takes place after one of the main game's endings and features Chuck teaming up with Frank West for the first time. It is also only on Xbox 360, and everything I said about Case Zero regarding that applies here too. This achievement needs you to destroy all 47 cameras around the facility. This naturally takes some time even with a guide, let alone without it. I also read multiple posts about this achievement being buggy, and sometimes enemies can destroy the cameras, which will not add it to the counter and thus make it impossible to get this achievement, which seems like a massive oversight to be honest. The Dead Rising 2 standalone DLCs are probably on the easier side when it comes to the achievements for the series, partially because of their shorter length, but also because they're nicer in what they ask you to do. Ain't they great? Dead Rising 2 off the record. Even more help from my friends, 1.4%. OTR is a what-if story where it's Dead Rising 2 but with Frank instead of Chuck. The achievements are almost completely different though. The Rarest needs you to get a gold medal in every single co-op challenge in the game. These challenges are part of the game's sandbox mode where there's no time limit. Now first thing is to unlock all 30 of these co-op challenges, you first need to get 10,000 zombie kills in the mode, so right away there's a grind that a lot of people won't be interested in. The challenges themselves are somewhat varied. Some are for getting like a certain amount of kills, some are timed races, some are more specific like drinking a lot. The medals are tiered, so let's say 20 kills in the first challenge is a bronze medal, 40 kills is a silver, and 80 is a gold. As I said, this achievement is for getting gold in all 30. I'm not going to go through all the challenges, especially when a few have similar strategies. What I will do though is give more general advice while reiterating that I in no way came up with any of this and that guide makers are awesome and an achievement hunter's best friend. First, setup is often more important than execution, by which I mean go in prepared with all the relevant combo weapons for both players. There's more specific things like getting the gambling magazines for the money challenge, or the sports fan outfit so you don't get sick for the drinking alcohol challenge, or drinking quick steps for the races so you move faster. As I said, there are plenty of guides online for these, and one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that all the challenges are actually the same as the single player ones, just often with a higher threshold for the medals because obviously you have an extra person there in co-op. As I said, preparation is the name of the game here. It makes sense it's the rarest as you need 2 players that are willing to do this as opposed to just the one. That's another thing due to the challenges being adjusted for co-op. It's basically impossible to just log in with a second console and do it yourself. Unless you can play one game with your feet, in which case please don't admit to that, what's wrong with you? Dead Rising 3, Prestige Hound, 0.25%. Moving on to Dead Rising 3, which if you ask me is where things started going downhill. The rarest achievement needs you to complete all the PP trials in the game, which haha PP. These are essentially little extra challenges that give you PP throughout the game. There are 61 total tasks and are generally simple to explain, though might take a while to actually do. Things like defeating 200 zombies with specific combo weapons or vehicles might be easy to do, but across all the different weapons it asks of you it will ultimately take a while. Likewise, there's defeating a number of zombies with all combat moves, such as the hammer spin or the body slam. There's also make 50 of specific combo weapons, which, what an overblown number. Sure, you might find one weapon you really like and naturally make 50 of them, but I think it's really unlikely you would ever get even 2 of these trials done. This means you'll be, I guess, reloading areas that you know where the parts spawn to make the same weapon 50 times, which is neither challenging nor fun. Finally, there's collectible type ones for, as an example, destroying all the propaganda speakers. As always with collectibles, easy with a guide, a hassle without it. I'm not going to go into great detail on all of these trials, but you'll need a lot of kills. Especially considering there's also a challenge for getting 200,000 zombie kills. Which, I shouldn't need to tell you, is an insane task. Except actually, that's not correct. You see, the challenge for getting 200,000 kills only unlocks after the previous tier challenge, and it does not carry over. What I mean is, you need to get 200,000 kills, yes, but the counter won't start until you've already killed, according to the wiki, 150,594 zombies. Meaning the actual total you'll need is 350,594. At which point is it too much? The majority of the guides just say to drive in a circle and mow down zombies, and if that's the most efficient way of doing things, I feel like you need to deflate your numbers just a little bit. Operation Broken Eagle. Eyes in the Sky, 0.96%. Onto the first regular DLC for Dead Rising 3. This achievement needs you to hack all 29 of the cameras around the DLC map. Very self-explanatory, very easy if you use a guide. DLC's pretty short as well, so shouldn't take that long. Here is probably a good time to mention that there are reports of a lot of these achievements being glitchy and not popping correctly, including this one. I'm not going to mention it every time, but that could also be a factor in the rarity of some of these. Anyway, this is probably the easiest achievement-wise for the DLCs, and the percentage does reflect that even if it's lower than I was expecting. Fallen Angel, Guardian Angel, 0.32%. Another sort of collectible focused one, though I don't know if I'm comfortable calling the survivors collectibles. Moving past that mess of a legal situation, this achievement needs you to successfully rescue all survivors in the DLC. There are 8 groups, and there's no time limit to save them like a regular side quest. Instead, you need to make sure you shoot the guard and untie them before anything kills them. If you don't shoot the guard, he will kill them, which will obviously cause you to not get the achievement. There are mixed reports that if they die after untying them, that's fine and the game will still give you the achievement, but I can't verify that right now myself. Probably harder than the last DLC's Rarest, just because of actually needing to save the people. Even playing well, mistakes are easy to make. Chaos Rising. Add to the collection, 0.5%. The next DLC's Rarest needs you to collect and deliver all 12 motorbikes to Torque. This has to be done before a certain point in the story, which I won't go into detail on. Main thing to note is that these don't respawn, so if you blow it up due to reckless driving or the many obstacles in your way, you will have to either reload a save or start the DLC over. These collectible ones are really easy to explain, and if you are using guides to plan routes and whatnot, they're probably not even that bad in execution. The Last Agent. Ashes to Ashes, 0.37%. The last of the regular or tonally consistent DLCs for Dead Rising 3. This rarest achievement needs you to burn all 40 biohazard piles in the DLC. There's 10 in each area of said DLC, and much like other collectibles, they appear on the map. Now, more than any other achievement, this one had the most frequent reports of glitching or bugging out, with the tracker stopping tracking or even the piles not appearing. In fact, the wiki page for this achievement has a whole section just about the bugs and potential solutions. These solutions involve messing around with your save data and cloud saves and what have you. I'm not going to go into all that here. If you've had these issues, I imagine you've already looked at all this yourself. It does suck when a seemingly simple task gets made much harder due to unintentional glitches though. Super Ultra Dead Rising 3 Arcade Remix Hyper Edition EX Plus Alpha. Team Player, 0.18%. Aw yeah, now we're talking. I love this DLC, it's just so silly. This achievement though is so simple that I'm convinced there must be some mistake. This achievement is for playing with 10 different players in the DLC. Okay, slightly misleading. You actually need to complete a match with 10 different players, but even with that clarification, this still seems unfathomably low. And there's not even any post about it being glitched. Do people just not play games together anymore? Anyway, a surprisingly basic rarest achievement for this wacky DLC, and in fact one of the rarest in the whole series. Dead Rising 4. Working hard, 0.2%. On to Dead Rising 4. Do I have an opinion on it? Yes. Will I share it? No. The rarest trophy is for clearing all the trials. These are kinda similar to the ones in Dead Rising 3, except there's way more of them. This game has 195 trials compared to Dead Rising 3's 61. So over 3 times as many. There are similar ones like defeating hundreds of zombies with specific weapons and of course once again defeating 250,000 zombies, but new to this game are photography trials for taking pictures of certain things, with some of these being missable. Joy, my favourite. There's also all collectibles and making every combo weapons and things to that effect. Annoyingly in this game though, there's a whole 57 trials that are multiplayer focused, with things like beating missions of course, but also healing and reviving allies, beating other players to the safe house, and completing 50 days in multiplayer. This is far from a complete list, there are far more I didn't go over, but I think you get the gist of these from the ones I've said. Long and short of it, it's going to take you a while, and the fact that you need to drag other people into this with you doesn't help. I mean, would you want to ask someone to play Dead Rising 4? Didn't think so. Frank Rising, no compromise, 0.2%. Right, so this achievement is for beating the DLC with its best ending on Blackest Friday difficulty, which is the hardest one. First off, how to get the best ending is to collect all the Princess Wasps before entering the lab. How you do this is by completing various challenges, such as killing 4 looters in a minute and a half, or surviving for a minute as your health constantly depletes. Now these can be challenging on this hardest difficulty, but there is some prep work you can do to make your life a bit easier. Most obviously is the trials. These carry across playthroughs and grant permanent buffs, such as improved health and melee attack damage, and basically just improve your chance of success across the board. They're all collectible related, so probably best to just do a playthrough dedicated to getting them first. The next thing to note is the timer. While not generally a massive issue in conventional playthroughs, the harder difficulty and mandatory good ending might make things a lot tighter, especially considering that if you die, the timer does not reset to what your checkpoint was, unless you're using the old back up your save trick. I was unaware of this DLC before making this video, and I will say that it at least seems kinda cool in theory, though a lot of reading implies that you are very underpowered, especially so for this hardest difficulty achievement. Super Ultra Mini Golf, number 1 ball buster, 0.1%. It's golf! We all love golf! This achievement needs you to use all ball busters on other players. First off, private matches and split screen apparently don't work, which is a real boo kind of moment. Is there any reason that couldn't work? There are 9 ball busters and you get one randomly by picking up this little orb, like an item box in Mario Kart. It's a bit finicky, but basically it boils down to getting the power up and hoping to trigger each one once. A lot easier if you have a second console or someone you are specifically boosting with. Otherwise you'll still have to go for the orbs, but without someone letting you do it. Real simple to explain for the rarest achievement in the whole series. I imagine it's this rare because you don't really buy Dead Rising and then just play golf. Capcom Heroes, tastes like chicken, 0.12%. Our last stop of the video, so for whatever reason the PlayStation version removed a lot of the DLC achievements for the game. It didn't affect the other 2 DLCs as the rarest is the rarest on both consoles, but this one, the rarest on Xbox, is only on Xbox and rarer than the one on PlayStation, so that's the one we're looking at. For this achievement you need to eat 100 humans as Zombie Frank. So first to unlock Zombie Frank you need to collect 30 stars of 60 total. So there are enough of these around, plus you need to get all of them for a different achievement anyway. How you feast is to use his YB or triangle circle combo attack once you have a high enough combo. There's a prompt for it on the screen, just use your eyes. Simply do this on 100 humans and you'll get the achievement. The prerequisites combined with the amount you have to do, I totally get why this is the rarest. Anytime the player has to go out of their way to farm something, you can almost guarantee that the majority are not going to want to do that, which fair enough to be honest. And that's the video. How many of these do you have? Which game is your favorite? Is it Dead Rising 4? I hope it's not. Let me know all that in the comments below, and while you're down there, why not like and subscribe? It's free, helps the video out, and gives you easier access to my videos, both old and new. You might find something you'll like. Thank you for watching this video. For now though, I'm off, hunt them troves, and I'll see you next time.